And here we go. Okay, it's preparing right now. Okay, we're live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. This is Julie Oakes with the Results Realty Group at LAER Realty Partners. I am a green designated realtor, and I'm very, very excited to be here live with LAER Realty Partners CEO Stacey Alcorn and our Chief Sustainability Officer, Craig Foley. Thank you so much for joining me today. You totally made my day by doing this with me. I'm very excited. And we're going to talk about the LAER sustainability story today.
Thanks for having us.
So what I want to talk about today is just really the story of how LAER Realty Partners came to be a real estate brokerage with a sustainability plan, really. And I would love to know, we've never really talked in depth about this. So how did you come to have this idea, Stacey? How did this come to be a priority?
So the only credit that I can take for the LAER sustainability story is that every single day I wake up and I have certain affirmations I say to myself. And one of the affirmations that I say to myself every day is that today I'm going to meet the right people at the right time for the betterment of my business and my life. So I tell myself that all day, every day. And interestingly, every single day I meet the right people at the right time for the betterment of my business and my life. One of the days that I said that about a year and a half ago, I got an introduction to Craig Foley. And what I like to tell people is, like, I wasn't on the market. I wasn't out searching somebody to be a chief sustainability officer. But I met I met Craig. And he is one of the most passionate people when it comes to sustainability. And what's cool about that is he made me passionate about it. And I realized that if he could make me passionate about that, then he could do that for our entire company. I will also say that coupled with that, unbelievable passion that he has. I mean, he's the guy in the United States around real estate and sustainability. He is the guy across the country. If you want an expert on sustainability in real estate, it's Craig Foley. But what was interesting to me, not only did I meet the guy that is like the expert on all of this, it was also during a time in the world where, like, we were seeing the Dunkin' Donuts get rid of plastic straws, and we were seeing the local grocery shops get rid of bags and stuff like that. So, like, when you couple those two things together, that you see there's something happening in the outside world, like big changes are finally happening in the world, that coupled with the fact that I got this amazing opportunity to meet the guy around sustainability, I had to do something around that.
I love that. Love, love, love that. So how, you know, whoever wants to take it, Craig or Stacey, how did your meeting come to be?
Well, I'll throw that one out, Stacey. So first of all, Stacey deserves a lot more recognition than just saying he found this guy and to take it forward, because it takes a leader that has some vision to incorporate this. we've looked at this nationally through some of the resources that we have at National Association of Realtors, and I was pretty sure that this was the case going into this, that we're the first residential real estate brokerage in the country to go down this pathway as deeply as we had, to actually put some resources behind a chief sustainability officer, so that when realtors, I've had 3 realtors reach out to me this week about solar PV in a residential real estate transaction and just needing some guidance about how to work their way through that. Now we have 100,000 homes in the state with PV, so we're fortunate to be at the the right place in Massachusetts that is rapidly transitioning towards a clean energy economy, the right time, as Stacey pointed out, and the right CEO that really got this. And I came from a brokerage that I was really happy with. I had no complaints with at all. And they were in the process of rebranding, and it looked as if we were going down a similar pathway, but the meetings just kept on getting pushed out and canceled, and nothing was really happening. And so Stacey and I met through our mutual friend and my business partner now, Phil Massa. And he said, you've got to meet Stacey and just talk to her about what your vision is, And so we met in Somerville, and I started to, pitch this idea to Stacey. And I think it was probably 15 minutes later that she said, well, yeah, let's work it out. You're hired, let's work out the details of how we put this together. And, that's pretty unusual, that there's someone that is willing to look at a completely different framework in terms of what this means to a residential real estate brokerage, and really embrace that quickly, and then be able to move forward with it, and put resources in place to be able to make it happen, I think is really huge. So that's pretty visionary, Stacey, I'd say. Just my own humble opinion.
I just want to say thank you for confirming what you said at the beginning of your statement, because I've been trying to research, is there another company that's doing this? And I wasn't able to find any, but I really didn't, feel confident. I didn't want to say, we're the only ones, we're the first ones, even though that's what I thought. So I appreciate you confirming that LAER is the first residential brokerage doing this.
I've talked to the director of sustainability at National Association of Realtors. We've done a little bit of research on this, and at the at the independent brokerage level, there's nothing like this. Even at the franchise level, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a specific franchise that's moved forward with this as well, because they have a larger footprint, more ability to do that, more impact. But I haven't seen it yet, Julie. So, and I hope to God, 3, 4, 5 years from now, that I'm still not the only one, because I feel like if and we're getting a lot of credibility with this on a national level, on a local level, on a state level, regional level. Hopefully, the blueprint that we're trying to work our way down is something that can be modeled for other brokerages, and they can use it as well.
Flip side of that, I would say, is that, first of all, it's a massive opportunity for us, because I get what Craig's saying. Hopefully 5 years, he's not the only one. I would also argue that if we are the only one in 5 years, then by that time we'll have 300,000 agents. So it won't matter that we're the only one at that point. So one way or the other, this whole sustainability is so big, it's going to make an impact. So either other companies can go find, build something similar, or it's going to create a vacuum where we become so large across the country because we have this piece, that either way, I think that we'll see a massive amount of impact just by having a sustainability team and a sustainability officer. And I hope that real estate agents like you, Julie, I mean, I know you embrace it and you're learning everything and you dig in. The challenge is that real estate agents get super busy and they keep just going and doing things the way they always used to be. I do hope there's more real estate agents that see the massive amount of impact they can have for their clients by digging in and learning how this works. And I'll even say that at the beginning of this, and I confess this to Chris, I don't know why I keep calling you Chris. It's bizarre because my phone call right before I was somebody named Chris, and now I have Chris in my head. Anyways, now I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
You were confessing something.
The agents, yeah, the agents. It's such a massive opportunity for agents to embrace this and build a huge business, because even though sustainability shouldn't be like a big thing right now, it shouldn't be a niche. Like, this has been something that, I mean, it should have been a niche 20 years ago. It shouldn't be a niche today, but it still is a niche, which means there's an awesome opportunity for agents to embrace it and learn it and piggyback their business to grow something huge.
Well, I think, you know,
that's exactly how I see it. I see it's just a massive opportunity, but not just for real estate professionals. I feel like there's a massive opportunity, and you can speak to this, Craig. There's a massive opportunity in the related businesses, in the developers and the contractors and the service providers. There aren't a lot of people moving into this space, and there, I just feel like there's a huge opportunity for in that space. Even I'm trying to make known to people in my sphere that this is what I do. I want to do it more. Hop on the train, join us. And some people are starting to reach out to me. Okay, I want to start a green division of my business. How do I go about doing it?
Yeah, well, it's great to see, you know, part of the reason why I think we're having this conversation as well is to see the advancement at National Association of Realtors, or, you know, which is the largest trade organization in the United States. The movement towards sustainability over the last 3 or 4 years has just been incredible. And now NAR has just hired a consultant to create a full-blown sustainability plan for the entire organization, which I'm really excited to be part of that team that's working with that consultant to do that. This last year, there was a presidential advisory group to look at the impact of extreme weather events on the real estate industry, which is happening today. It's happening right now, not 2030, not 2050, not 2070. It's happening today. And there's a lot of market forces that I think are just invisible for most of us that are already happening and moving the markets in ways that it's almost impossible to understand how rapidly this is evolving right now. One of the things too, Julie, that from your perspective, and I think, let's face it. I mean, with real estate agents, it's, there are a lot of real estate agents in the business. Many of them are in it because you can make money doing it, which absolutely, that's obviously a great thing. To provide a service and to be able to make money doing it is great. And there are many real estate agents that, that's their commitment to the business, their clients, which is the most important commitment that you can make. But I think that there are another set of agents that are out there that really look at real estate as a career. There are lifelong learners that are involved. I'm so excited that, Julie, you got involved with Greater Boston Association of Realtors with the Sustainability Task Force. You start to see at the state level, at the local level, and at the National Association of Realtor level, that there's a level of realtors out there that are involved in volunteer leadership and engaged with our trade organization in these really tremendous ways that I think really makes us better realtors, and it really becomes a real career rather than just this is where I'm getting a paycheck and I'm closing it up and going home. I think those lifelong learners like you are
Right.
really, perfect for the green designation, and trying to figure out how to move this market for this sustainable real estate market forward.
That's what it's all about, I think, because the industry is constantly changing. Building code changes every 3 years, and we constantly need the input of the new information. And I think if we don't keep up with that information, we're doing our clients a disservice.
Yes, no, I agree 100%, obviously. The other thing that we're seeing in Greater Boston is, and in Massachusetts in general, because we're at the leading edge of building codes. We've got an incredible set of architects and builders, PERS raters, subcontractors now that are building to beyond code to the highest levels of green certifications like Passive House and LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, Energy Star, National Green Building Standard. That we have to meet our 2050 carbon neutral goals in the state, and we know that housing is one of the critical areas that we have to tackle. And obviously the opportunity with new construction is clearly in front of us, but we also have to deal with existing building stock as well, like the home that's behind me, putting solar PV up on their rooftop.
And is it especially challenging in New England since we have such a high volume of old homes in New England?
Yeah,
is it especially challenging?
Well, it's less challenging than I think many people think, and it would be great if we can get the word out even more to just do the simplest things like a mass save energy assessment on your home. Doing air sealing and insulation work makes a big dent. If we can make existing building stock and existing office space 20% more efficient, and we can go towards net zero energy homes, which are available on the marketplace today, and certainly I would argue that they're cost effective in terms of building them. And the fact that we, as a grid in New England and in Massachusetts in particular, are committed to a renewable portfolio standard where we're increasing our renewable generation of power by 2% a year for the utility companies in Massachusetts. All of a sudden you see that, the 39% of US energy consumption that's attributed to the built environment, and you start to bring down by more efficiency existing homes, you really raise the level on new construction, and the grid gets greener and greener. We've got a framework to be able to really pull this off and make this work that's cost effective.
So Stacey, Craig's been with us, what is it, for about a little over a year and a half?
Yeah,
does that sound about right?
Yes.
I joined on my birthday, January 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
2019.
That's easy to remember for you. So since Craig's come on, Stacey, and your discussion with him, and how has LAER sustainability evolved since then?
So the sustainability, first of all, our sustainability as a company has, I feel like we're making huge strides. I'm going to mess up the numbers a little bit here, but I know Craig has them. So for example, the first year he was here when we started, we had something like 4 or 5 agents that had green designation. By the end of last year, I want to say we had more like 40 or something agents that had green designation. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that Craig did this awesome report for us in the spring called the Sustainability Study, which really looked at a whole bunch of different aspects around sustainability. Like, first of all, how many agents are participating in getting a green designation, how many agents drive hybrid vehicles, things like that. So, and the reason why I think this is so important is I can only speak for me personally. And what I will say is that for me personally, having somebody like Craig on the team is that, like, when you start to pay attention to sustainability, it causes you to pay attention to other things. So for example, I confessed to Craig when I first met him, like, I don't even recycle. Like, that's just not even something that's on my brain. I'll tell you now, I recycle. Like, I'm more cognizant of how much the little things I do on a daily basis make an impact on humanity. Because sometimes you don't feel like it's making an impact on humanity, but because we have this sustainability arm to the company, it just makes you a little more aware. It makes it so, like, when you see an article about recycling or sustainability or anything like that, you're more likely to read the article than I was 2 years ago, because now I have this little piece of me that says, hey, that might have a connection to what we're doing. And as you read around, like, everything that's happening in the world, just having a new awareness, in my opinion, you become a better human. And then as you become a better human, what's cool about that is your family becomes better humans. And my 10-year-old now, like, thinks about recycling. And I know that if I hadn't met Craig Foley a year and a half ago, I don't think my kid would think about recycling right now. So it's like this massive snowball. So when I look at, like, there's whatever the number is, let's say it's 40, and I might be off on the number. Let's say there's 40 green designated agents. I think about a bunch of snowballs out there. Like, that's having an impact, not only on their business, but it's definitely having an impact on humanity, the environment, the world. So that's where I see the value around all of it.
Agreed. I do this funny little thing. I love to send handwritten cards to people, and I found these great little things online. These little, they're like homemade seed paper. They have wildflower seeds, and they're shaped like a little earth. And when I send cards, I just put one in there, because it's just a little piece of getting the conversation going. If you're not aware, and I just put a little thing in there and say, I really believe that we're called to be stewards of this planet in whatever way that we can, and to leave it a better place than we found it. And it's like, I feel like it's coupons. Every little bit adds up. And like you said, Stacey, it's like a ripple effect. And I feel like that's really important. Like, little changes really, really, really add up. And for LAER Realty Partners to be the first residential brokerage that recognizes that, to me, means a lot. And when I speak to other companies and other realtors, and they're saying how great their company is, this is what I love to say. My brokerage is the only brokerage with a sustainability plan. No one else can say that, because that's really important to me. And it's not about money. It is about business, yes, but it's really about making a change and the conversation. That's really what it's about for me.
One thing I want to point out about what you just said is that you said that you're a steward of the earth and humanity and things like that. Like, that's so much cooler than just being a real estate agent. Like, you're making change in the world. And imagine if we had 550 agents who all had that thought process. It's kind of awesome.
Yep. So, okay. So the two of you working together in this brokerage, what would be your, like you say sometimes, Stacey, what would be your BHAG? What would be your big, hairy, audacious goal for not just the brokerage, but sustainability, like just the whole thing combined? What would be your BHAG?
For now, my BHAG would be 550 green designated agents. 5 years from now, I wouldn't mind if it's 300,000. green designated agents because nobody else has a chief sustainability officer. But to get to 100% where that's just like, if you want to work here, that's part of who we are. That's like the culture of the company. To be here, then you got to believe in this, which means you got to have that designation. So that would be my.
And how about you, Craig?
Well, we're going down the road right now. We're talking about a solar PV provider for our national grid offices to get them online through a renewable energy credit program. So that's like a nice little short-term goal that's going to save money for the company. That and we're going to be connected to community solar arrays that are good for the community, obviously. So that's nice, you know, to go down that road. Eventually, in one of our critical buildings, as we continue to build out and Stacey's universe expands, I would love to have a headquarters that's a net zero energy building, and that's absolutely doable. Takes some time, some effort, some thinking, but we have the people here in the Northeast that can pull this off. Whether it's an existing building, but certainly if Stacey decides to create the grand headquarters for LAER Realty Partners from the ground up, we can definitely do that from the beginning.
That would be awesome to say that we have a net zero HQ. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, I think we should put a date. We should, Craig and I will work on putting a date by which we'll have that so that it actually gets done.
I like it.
And I love the idea that you said, Stacey, about having that be our culture. That just really hits home with me, that having that be maybe not our whole culture, but at least a portion of our culture. That, so if you want to work with us, we would love to have you. You have to be a realtor, not just an agent. You have to be a realtor. And you have to be a green designated agent, because that's a priority of ours. I would love, because I think that would set us apart even more. And in this industry, setting yourself apart is kind of part of the package, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think the other important part of this is, we have a commitment. We're all realtors that are working under Stacey, that are members of NAR. And we have a commitment to knowledge and competence. It's Article 11 of our Code of Ethics. And I firmly believe that if you're listing a home like the one behind me, that the homeowner is putting a power plant on their rooftop, and that power plant is producing income, and there's a specific valuation method that is actually accepted in the marketplace now, you need to be knowledgeable and competent enough to be listing that home. So I feel like this is very transactional as well, right? There's a real transactional plus here for our agents to get involved. We're evolving so rapidly in Massachusetts. Like I said, we've got over 100,000 homes now with PV on the rooftops. We've got green certified homes. We've got hundreds of thousands of homes with HERS scores in them now, which is a requirement for the new building code that requires an energy efficiency score for these homes. We need to be competent in this part of the market if we're participating, and if somebody isn't comfortable participating in that, at least they know that there's other LAER agents that they can refer that business to that do have that competence in the marketplace.
Right. I just would like to clarify something. I'm taking notes as we're going along. Did you say that with the new building code that a HERS score is a requirement for new construction?
Yeah, for IECC 2018, that is correct. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
And we're already at the place where about 70% of the builders over the last 3 or 4 years have been hiring HERS raters to get on board, because they're finding there's 2 ways that a builder can go down to reach code. The code too, right, is called the International Energy Conservation Code, IECC. Energy conservation is a critical part of that code. Obviously, it's in the title. But we're seeing, there's 2 different pathways a builder can take. A prescriptive pathway where you kind of dot the I's, cross the T's, the building inspector comes by and sees that you did that and check it off. And then there's a performance pathway, hiring a HERS rater to get to the energy efficiency pieces of this. And smart builders working with the really good HERS raters that are out there are realizing it's much more cost effective taking the performance pathway and really doing a vigorous energy model for the building rather than going down the prescriptive pathway. So we've already moved down this, Massachusetts, we've been killing it. I think many people, realtors, unfortunately too, don't understand that there has literally been a building science revolution that's been happening right in front of us. And consumers aren't aware of it. Certainly realtors aren't aware of it, but builders are getting more and more aware of it, realizing they got to get on board.
You're right. Just this morning, I read a CNN article about a company I believe they're in the UK. An engineer she's invented a way to produce bricks in a sustainable way, and using basically discarded construction materials, bricks being one of them, regular bricks being one of them. But because traditional bricks use kilns and they use so much energy just to make them, she's found a way to do this, and now she's getting funding so that she can do it on a larger scale, and trying to incentivize companies to use them. And I'm hoping that that comes over to our country, because it's not something that every person on the street knows about.
Yeah, it's very true. And it's because I just found this. I'm at our house in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, so we have a vacation home, and I was looking through the bookshelf, and I found this Time magazine article on global warming. The date on it says display until 12/24/07. So this was 13 years ago, when I bought this.
Wow.
And there's a big section on building green, and it's not like this is new stuff. We've been thinking about this stuff for a while, understanding that there's a problem out there, and there's solutions that the real estate industry definitely has opportunities to fill some of that void on, So, it's unfortunate that this wasn't happening 13 years ago the way it should have been to get on top of some of the challenges that we have in front of us, which are immense. But it's happening right now, full steam in Massachusetts, very, very aggressively. One of the things that's being looked at, the town of Brookline, Massachusetts, tried to pass and did pass a ban on fossil fuels in new construction. The Attorney General of Massachusetts recently noted that Brookline wasn't allowed to do that, so that was pulled out of the framework. But the Attorney General recognized that that's exactly where we need to be going in Massachusetts to meet our 2050 carbon neutrality goals. So now the push is to create a new building code, or a third option, Julie, for communities with building codes. And I think you're going to see this happen sometime this year, where not only are Massachusetts communities obligated to meet the IECC 2018 code, on top of that, 250 of our 351 communities have adopted a stretch code, which is 20% more efficient than the current building code. But the third option for communities, and I know at least a dozen right now that would jump on this like this, would be a net zero energy stretch code. So the requirement in a community that voluntarily adopted it would be the requirement for new construction would be net zero energy.
That's awesome. And I have to shout out to the town of Franklin, Massachusetts. That's where my office is, because I'm part of the Franklin Downtown Partnership, which is sort of an uber local chamber of commerce, I guess, for lack of a better term. But the town of Franklin has just voted to create a solar grid for the town. And of course, there was some people not favorable toward it just because of the real estate that it's going to use, but it's going to benefit the whole town. and just the town of Franklin, they are very, very proactive environmentally and sustainability wise. And I'm just really psyched to have an office in that particular town, because when I first decided to make Franklin my office, I had no idea that was going to happen, but it just, confirms that I chose the right place. And I'm glad that LAER Realty Partners is part of it.
So what were you engaging with in your town for your town leadership? What was that called?
It's called the Franklin Downtown Partnership. Yeah. It's sort of like I said, for lack of a better term, it's like a chamber of commerce, but only specifically the town of Franklin, specifically business people and leaders in the town of Franklin. Yeah. Yeah,
we're seeing more and more of our realtors, I think, Stacey, getting involved with their municipal government as well, which is an exciting, it's one more way to engage for LAER Realty agents to really stand out and engage on our communities in how we serve, not only our local and state and national association of realtors, but at the municipal level as well. It's really exciting to see.
Yeah, so one of the things I did in my own town, and I think many towns have these, but I'm in the town of Littleton, Massachusetts, and we do have a Littleton Sustainability Committee. And so for real estate agents, you can either get involved, like become part of the sustainability committee within your town, but at a minimum, like I just went onto the website and checked a few boxes to make sure that I was being emailed information about what's happening on the sustainability committee in the town of Littleton. So I agree. I think there's all kinds of opportunity. Number one, just to know what's happening in your town around sustainability, but also volunteering and being spearheading or being part of what is happening in the town. So
I can say when they have realtors that get it, Stacey, because many times, I mean, let's face it, when a homeowner that has solar PV on their rooftops, or they've done energy efficiency improvements, when they talk to the typical realtor that hasn't been trained in this part of the business, and they ask, well, shouldn't that add value to my home? The realtor kind of freaks out. They don't know what the right answer is, and they kind of roll their eyes at it, right? So I think a lot of the town managers, the town municipal people are kind of used to that as the standard real estate response.
Yes.
I think if our agents that are engaged in this start to get involved, you'll be surprised at how, there'll be a lot of welcoming arms to accept your knowledge and competence in engaging the municipal governance in that way.
Yes.
We just experienced that a little bit this week, right, Craig? So one of our other agents, I gave her a call just to kind of check in, because we haven't chatted in a while, and she ended up telling me about a deal that she was involved with on the buy side, and this house had solar panels, and so I started asking her some questions about it, and she had no idea what I was talking about. And first thing I always ask is, are they owned or leased? And she had no idea. So she went back and found out, and she had no idea, if that was supposed to add to her buyer's offer, if it was supposed to add value. Her buyer had questions about it. So I read over the contract, told her what I thought, and then sent her to Craig for, confirmation or, just more expertise. And people just don't know. And they don't know that and I don't even know if homeowners know, if I lease solar panels, this does not add value to my home. I wonder, do they think, well, it should, I have solar panels, shouldn't this add value? Well, no, it's personal property. So it doesn't add value. And so very interesting. And because I told her during the conversation, when she was telling me about this deal, I'm a green agent, right? She said, no, I didn't know that. So it was a good conversation. It was a good connection.
So I would just say on that, I think it's a great point. And I mean, in real estate, for for agents, that's why, like, I'm thankful for every agent that we do have that is green designated. I agree with Craig that if for real estate agents that don't have a green designation, when they come across properties like that, like, they are a liability if they do not know what they're talking about. I see it on social media where I see real estate agents from all different firms like making statements around solar panels, and I know that what they're saying is not accurate. So I think for any good agent worth their salt, they should just get the green designation so that you can at least have a conversation with somebody. I mean, during the pandemic, we were doing training programs, and I forget the woman's name. It was a friend of Craig's who I did a webinar with, and she wrote that green value pricing book. And
Sandy Adamatis.
yeah, and it was like she shared this awesome story of this listing that had sustainable features, and the people interviewed 3 different real estate agents, and the agent that came in the highest was one who was very familiar around sustainability and came in at a different price for the property, significantly higher, to the point that the other agents were basically saying, oh no, that person's way off, you're never going to get that for the house. Long story short, they listed with the agent who was familiar with the sustainable features of the property. They did get the higher price, the one that sustainable agent quoted to them. But sadly, I think that happens all the time. And sadly, consumers don't even know it because they get an agent who's just not qualified to work on a property that has sustainable features. They underprice the property because they don't know the value that those sustainable features bring. And it's potential liability because that home owner can come back anytime, long after the property is sold, and say, wait a second, I got the short end of the stick. I should have gotten a lot more for the property. So there is liability around not investing in your career through taking some training programs. Not a big deal. In today's world, you can get your green designation through like a Zoom meeting, like 2 days investment in your business. It's a no-brainer.
I've also experienced with homeowners who own the panels. They're thinking, okay, I've had these panels for 5, 7, 10 years. I want to sell my house now. And so I paid whatever amount of money that I paid at the beginning for these panels. And so that's what should be added to the market value of the house. And that's not necessarily the case. And when I come in,
swimming pool.
have it, you're right. When I come in having that knowledge, and we have the PV value tool that we can use that says right in the straight numbers, this is what your system is worth. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't, but at least it's true information. It's not something that they've made up in their head. At least this is the numbers right in front of you. This is what your system is worth at this age. And
yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. So we've really covered all the questions that I had. So my biggest thing that I wanted to find out from you guys was what was your BHAG? What was your future vision? That's really, I wanted to find out like how this came about and where you see it going in the future. So this has been really, really awesome. And if you guys have anything to add, feel free.
Well, Stacey mentioned the LAER sustainability report that we published on Earth Day this last year. And that's I think a report that's worth taking a look at because it goes over what we did in 2019 and what our goals for 2020 are. The goals for 2020 have been a little bit delayed, like everything, because of COVID-19. We're just trying to catch back up with everything that's going on right now. But to put a line in the sand about what LAER stands for, what we've done, what our goals are, and continually rolling that out, I think is an important piece. It forces us to put our money where our mouth is, and to really have credibility in the space, which I think is it's terribly important for consumers. We know this for a fact. Consumers are making purchasing decisions based on companies' environmental reputations, and LAER is now setting itself into the place where we're the go-to company for people that care about the stuff and have made improvements on their home that fit into high performance features. That we're the place to go to. We're getting it done. So if
and I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited.
Or whatever where the report is, that would be great, Julie.
Okay. Yeah. If we have a link to it.
Yeah, we
something.
do. Yeah.
Is it?
I'll
okay.
put it in there.
Okay.
When I see
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. You're right. Huge opportunities out there. I'm finding, especially the younger generations, they are, they're coming sort of out of the box they're already sustainably minded. They're graduating from college, with their getting a job, and in their home searches, they're looking for high performance features in their first time home. And if there's an agent, regular agent or regular agents, obviously don't have that opportunity because they're not with the National Association of Realtors. But even a realtor who doesn't have that designation and that training, they're just really not doing, well, like I said earlier, they're doing their clients a disservice because they don't have that knowledge to not just help them find the place that they're looking for, but to know the proper value of it. That's really essential to know, not just, okay, so you have this feature, how much true value does it add to the home? And on the buy side, is it listed appropriately? And I feel like I have a really great tool in my pocket when there's a home listed with high performance features and the listing agent has no clue how to value it. And I do. So I know that my client is going to get an amazing deal on this house because it's not valued appropriately with the high performance features. So as far as, I love situations like that.
Yeah, and on the flip side is for listings, I would say not only are there not a ton of agents that know how to properly price the property, but then it also comes down to marketing it. And we have all kinds of awesome tools for properly marketing a property that has high performance features, because it comes down to educating the buyer of the property of why that property should command a higher premium because of the extra features that it has. So it's an interesting dynamic. And all I can say is, like, smart agents are just embracing, like, getting the green designation. If I were out doing listing presentations, I can guarantee you I'd have that sustainability report in my package 100% of the time, because you just don't know. You might think that the seller doesn't care about it, but it's 100% separates you from everybody else by at least having that little conversation 100% of the time. So we're lucky to have you.
Absolutely.
Julie, you are the epitome of what agents, like, you're doing it all right. So we appreciate having people like you on the team because you're a role model for everybody else. So we appreciate that you embrace the green programs and the green designation, and that you're always willing to dig in and learn more and figure out new ways to represent your clients. Because what Craig and I both know is that if a client calls you, they're in very good hands. We don't have to worry about a lawsuit down the road. We don't have to worry that we don't have to worry the property's not going to get marketed properly. We know your clients are in good hands. So we appreciate you being a role model for other agents at our company, because when they see you doing the right thing, more agents say, you know what, I'm going to go check out the green designation and see what it's all about. So thank you.
I hope so. You know, that it's that whole ripple snowball effect.
Yes.
Hopefully that's, yeah. So thank you guys. I just can't say thank you enough for being willing to do this with me and have this conversation, and yeah, just to spread the word about our company. I'm very, very excited about that. And as far as, you know, appreciation, I appreciate the fact that I was, you know, I was really led into this brokerage, and, you know, just as time goes by, just more and more, you know, boxes are checked off to tell me that I'm at the right place.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. We're really,
you can't go
we're
anywhere.
really, you know what, when I talk to other people, Craig, I tell people that we snagged you. That
Yes,
we're really grateful that, yeah, really grateful that you're on board with us. Yeah, really.
Yes.
It's,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice of you to say.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for taking the time, you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Julie. Thanks, Craig.
Fabulous
Yeah, thanks,
conversation.
Julie. Keep up the good work. See you, Stacey.
Bye.
Bye.